on, vinyl community? Welcome to another video with the Record Spinner. In today's video, I'm going to be doing a vinyl haul showcasing all the records that I acquired within the months of February and March of this year in 2025. I didn't do a standalone February vinyl haul video, mainly because I did not accumulate enough stuff to warrant its own video, and plus there was a bunch of other content that I wanted to kind of push out as priority. So we're going to kill two birds with one stone and cover 2 months worth of vinyl finds, and let me tell you, this month was a solid month for vinyl finds. We have Oasis, Dream Theater, Donnas, Black Sabbath, Bowie, Ace Frehley, and so much more. Believe me, the variety right there is enough to sink your teeth into. So enough of the chit chat. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the latest finds. Okay, so we're going to be kicking this haul off in some sort of unofficial Floydish territory. It's not exactly Pink Floyd, but it resides in the family. And also, this is one of the newest and latest offerings from the unofficial gods, I'll just call them. They've been really killing it with a lot of these releases where the labels won't press them up officially, but if you're a vinyl aficionado and you want them in your collection, this is the way to get them. So if you're curious what it is that has just come out, it is the live album, Roger Waters in the Flesh. So this release dates back to around, I want to say 1999, 2000. Initially came out as a 2 CD set along with a DVD concert video, and it's never been pressed on vinyl until now. And honestly, the set list is really good, as you can see from there. So obviously it draws heavily from Pink Floyd's sort of classic period when he was the dominant songwriter, from Dark Side of the Moon, Wish You Were Here, Animals, The Wall. And of course, because it is solo Roger Waters, you're gonna get tracks from the final cut as well, along with some of his solo stuff, which is not too bad. So overall, pretty solid package. Funny enough, with a lot of these unofficial releases, they include some interesting extras. And here you get this little fold-out insert poster of Roger back from when he was doing his version of The Wall from like early 2010s. Obviously not from the original artwork of this release, but it's a little added bonus. And then for the vinyl, it's 3 LPs. Each of them are pressed on blue vinyl with white splatter, which looks absolutely awesome. And I also like how they use the CD labels as the custom center labels here. So that is really, really cool. Funny enough, I have this to play along with that Pink Floyd Is There Anybody Out There release. It's just, what is it, 5 sides of vinyl? I got to square out time for that. So maybe I'll do a Floyd marathon night, spin that, and then spin the Roger Waters. But nonetheless, it's a cool thing to have. Recently, my best friend Chelsea, you might recognize her as the Record Spinnerette in previous videos here on my channel. Things have been so busy between both of us that we finally just got together to swap Christmas presents. It's weird how I'm still getting gifts even in February, but I had a chance to hang out with her as well as her daughter Topanga, who is my godchild. She is an absolute beauty. I love her to death. And funny enough, because we always ask each other, like, what do you specifically want for Christmas, like vinyl wise? And I specifically named these 2 albums. And these are the first 2 records of a band that I just started getting into. I don't know if it's disingenuous to get into them now because of the reunion that's on the horizon, since they're touring the States here in the summer. But I started listening to a couple of tracks and I'm like, I think these guys are onto something. What exactly am I talking about? I am talking about Oasis. So the 2 albums that I got from her for Christmas were Definitely Maybe, as well as What's the Story, Morning Glory. Now, I know that they just recently reissued this as a box set. I think it's like it reached its anniversary fairly recently. Rock and Roll Star, I know, is on this one. That's like the only major cut that I know off of this. So this will be like a total like fresh listen. But the one that I am really stoked for is What's the Story, Morning Glory. And I think that's just mainly just because it has all the hits on it. Yeah, Wonderwall is on it. Don't Look Back in Anger. Some might say Champagne Supernova, but it does have my favorite Oasis track, Roll With It, which I just think that's just a great driving song. Absolutely love it. And very, very thankful that Chelsea had gifted me these for Christmas. So cool stuff. And then I recently took another visit to Wall to Wall Sound and Video. If you saw my record store vlog there, They gave me fantastic trade credit for my turntable, left with a small stack, and they posted this record on their Instagram. And I said to myself that next time I go there and it's there, I will pick it up. And if you are a Yes fan, particularly of the 80s and 90s Trevor Rabin era, this is something that you're going to want to check out for yourself. It is a release called 90124. Now, this is a 2 LP collection of various Trevor Rabin demos of songs that he contributed to Yes during his tenure with the band. So you have original demo versions of tracks from 90125 like Hold On, Changes, Owner of a Lonely Heart, as well as Make It Easy, which was not on the album, but it's like a notable outtake from that period. I think it's on the Yes Years box set. And then you also get Love Will Find a Way from Big Generator. And if you're a fan of the Talk album, there's also Where Will You Be, along with Walls, which I think he co-wrote with Roger Hodgson of Supertramp. There was like a brief little window of time where he was possibly going to be the next Yes vocalist when John Anderson went off to do ABWH, but that's one of those what ifs, I guess, in history. But oddly enough, it spoofs on 90125 just down to the title, as well as the look, going for a brown background instead of the silver. Has that sort of colorful tricolor Y logo. And this comes pressed on sort of clear vinyl, which looks cool. Oh, that's a cool custom center label there. I just noticed that now. But yes, this was definitely well worth the trip back to Wall to Wall. And I'm definitely excited to go back there again and see what else I can cop. But until I go back, this is going to get some good spins on the turntable. No, it is not the Bizarro version of the record spinner. Yes, I cut the hair. Yes, I shaved the beard. But don't worry, I'll be looking like my normal self very, very soon. But we got some new releases here that I'm going to show you guys that just came out today. And the first one that I'll show is a brand new studio album by this particular band. And I gotta say, things have been feeling kind of celebratory for this band because they are celebrating their 40th anniversary this year. Founding member and original drummer joined back into the band after a sort of 13 or 14 year absence. And these guys just also happen to be the godfathers of progressive metal. What am I talking about? I am talking about Dream Theater, and this is their brand new album, Parasomnia. This brings back together the classic lineup of James LaBrie, John Petrucci, John Mayung, Jordan Rudess, and Mike Portnoy. He is back on the drum throne. And this is not exactly a concept album, but a sort of thematic album regarding concepts of golden slumbers, essentially. And the album is broken up into 4 dreams, aka 4 sides of vinyl. So I kind of like that they took this approach for Mike's first album back into the band. And from what I've understood, I still have yet to spin this yet. There are a lot of callbacks to their catalog, which I think is great given that he's back into the fold. And also, like I said, celebrating 40 years. It's good to kind of, touch on the past a little bit, but also forge ahead into the future. So I am really stoked to give this album a listen. This is a great package as well. Has some great artwork done by Hugh Syme, who did all like the Rush covers and such back in the day. He's been basically been Dream Theater's artwork guy for a number of years at this point, and there's some great band photographs as well. So nice little booklet. And I believe the pressing that I got is the indie version because it is pressed on clear vinyl. Kind of spooky center label there. And I am definitely stoked to give this album a listen, and I was really glad that I got my hands on a copy. And then the next record I'm going to show is actually kind of a repress. Granted, it has a different catalog number, and I already have 2 pressings of this album. I have an original 2004 press, and I have a 2020 black with gold splatter pressing, but they went ahead and repressed this up, and I couldn't really say no because this is my favorite album of this particular band. And I am talking about the Donnas Gold Medal. This is my personal favorite of theirs. It's also, I think, their most musically mature album, since they kind of work in some acoustics and some pianos into their sound. They kind of deviated from that standard sort of hard rock sound that kind of went throughout their catalog. And this is a really solid reissue that Real Gone Music had put out again since they first put it out in 2020. So since they did all the Lookout albums and they also did Spend the Night this past summer, they went ahead and reissued this again. Includes a little poster insert. This was originally like a black light, black velvet insert on the original, but they kind of replicated it as just a basic insert. Printed inner sleeve with lyrics as well as photos, and it comes pressed on. It's described as gold smoke vinyl, but it has more of a yellow tinge to it. Regardless, it looks absolutely sick, and also I love the inclusion of that classic green and red Atlantic label. So really solid stuff. Really happy to get my hands on, like I said, a third copy of the Donnas Gold Medal. Okay, so here's a bunch of stuff that's kind of accumulated over the past week or so. The first record I'll show is one that I actually picked up locally at a Wall to Wall Sound and Video because I saw that it was in one of their new arrival videos on Instagram, and I immediately made my trek there to pick it up. And this is a record that I've kind of been wanting for the good part of almost 5 years. It was out of print for a while. It must have gotten a repress recently. And oddly enough, it is of the band that is on my t-shirt. Yes, it is Weezer. And it's their 2002 album, Maladroit. Now, stylistically, this kind of still follows the same kind of sound that they explored on the Green album, which is my favorite record of theirs. However, I think they made up with this album because the Green album's like, what, 10 tracks, less than a half hour? And this is beefed up with 13 tracks. And it is just absolutely killer. Has a little bit of variety, but it still just has those big crunching chords and such. But the main reason why I wanted this was because one of the singles off of this album was a track called Keep Fishin'. And I remember as a kid, I saw the music video on, it had to have been VH1, and it was a very funny video that included the Muppets, which I just thought was kind of cool. And I always liked the song, I love the video. So put it all together, it made me want Maladroit much, much more. So I was very happy to finally get myself a copy of it. And this is just a repress of the 2016 reissue when Geffen had done a whole campaign of all the Weezer albums. Nice sort of glossy insert here with band photos, lyrics, and credits. And it's on black vinyl with some nice custom center labels there. So very happy to get a copy of Weezer's Maladroit. And this next record comes from Vinyl Me Please. I say that in a very pseudo-disgruntled way because I don't think I'll be ordering from Vinyl Me Please again. Their customer service has kind of been a hodgepodge as of recently. They took away the rock track and then reintroduced it, and they're just recycling old exclusives and this and that. The writing is on the wall for Vinyl Me Please. But this particular album that they reissued was the record of the month back in early 2024, and I completely missed out on it. And then it sold out, and then they announced a repress, and then that got pushed into like November of this past year. Then it got pushed to February. Needless to say, it's finally in my hands, and I'm actually shocked I didn't go for this initially when it first came out because this is my favorite album of this particular band, and this is quite an impressive copy to have. And it is the Vinyl Me Please exclusive of Black Sabbath's Master of Reality. This is one of those instances where an album is just perfect. Like, every song has its place. There's no filler. It flows absolutely sublime. And I love this record so much. Sweet Leaf, After Forever, Children of the Grave, Lord of This World, Solitude, Into the Void. Hell, even all the little guitar bits, Embryo and Orchid. It's so freaking good. And I'll take this out of the resealable bag so you guys can see this greatness. Comes with a nice little obi. Thick tip-on style jacket, matte with a spot varnish finish for the text, as you can see, which is very cool. Take everything out. Of course, they replicated the original poster, which looks very nice. Doesn't quite have the textured finish like originals, but it still has that poster there. And as always, it's Vinyl Me Please. We have some listening notes that you can kind of just flip through as you listen to the album. Here's someone's take on Master of Reality. And then as for the vinyl, check this out. Look at this gorgeous piece of wax. Purple vinyl with black splatter. Matches the aesthetic of the artwork absolutely beautifully. And it's on that Warner Records variation of that olive green Warner Brothers label. And this is actually an all analog cut by Ryan K. Smith, and this is actually exclusive to Vinyl Me Please, so I doubt that they'll be reissuing this all analog cut to the mainstream buying public. It's only available through them, which is absolutely wild. They did Vinyl Me Please did a pressing of Paranoid not too long ago, and they had recycled the Kevin Gray cut that Rhino had put out. So it's cool to see them do this. I don't know if maybe they'll do more Sabbath, but I don't know, with the way things are looking, probably not. But I'm so glad that I finally got my hands on this. And next up is actually a promo from Rhino Records. They had supplied me with the Yes Close to the Edge box set, and before I had received that, I actually inquired about this particular Half Speed Master, because this album is celebrating its 50th anniversary this year, and it is of Mr. David Bowie, and it's the Young Americans album. This is the whole sort of plastic soul, Philly soul kind of era of Bowie. Of course, the title track Young Americans is a highlight. There's also the track Right, which is awesome. He does a cover of Across the Universe, because he was buddies with John Lennon at the time. And then, of course, Fame is on here, which is just an absolutely grooving track. And the Bowie camp has been doing these Half Speed Masters for album anniversaries. I think this all started when Ziggy celebrated its 50th. It got a Half Speed cut. So has a little obi strip, replicates the artwork perfectly. We do have an insert here with all of the lyrics, and as always, black vinyl, Bowie variation on that RCA label. Now, I believe from the credits that I checked of all the other 50th anniversary pressings, the half-speed cuts, they use the digital remasters that were for the initial reissues, but I'll have to do some comparisons to my regular reissue. But nonetheless, they hooked me up with a copy, and if you're watching this, my review of this particular pressing is already up on trackingangle.com, so give it a read for yourself, see what I think of it. And now we're going to go into some Ace Frehley Kiss territory. This is a compilation, kind of mainly put out by just the label, not overseen by Ace himself or whatever, but it's part of a series, and look, when it comes to anything Kiss related, I have to get it, just out of necessity. And it is Ace Frehley Now Playing. Now Playing is this sort of series that Rhino has been doing, just a budget compilation type deal where you get a selection of tracks on colored wax, cool artwork on the front. The back is kind of unison with all the other entries in the series, but, you know, it serves as a solid little sampler. Now, with this comp, it focuses on the stuff that Ace had released on Atlantic. So you have his first Frehley's Comet album, then you have the Frehley's Comet album Second Sighting, as well as Trouble Walkin'. So it covers the 80s stuff, but features a great photo of the Space Ace himself with the smoking Les Paul. And then, of course, keeping it in line with the photo, as well as his color hue within Kiss, comes pressed on blue vinyl, which is absolutely sick, and really stoked to have this cool compilation of Atlantic-era Ace Frehley stuff. Okay, so recently I went record digging over at Off the Record in Woodbury, or Woodbury Heights, depending on which way you look at it. I was kind of looking through the new arrivals section, and I stumbled across this record that I remember had come out like a couple of years ago, maybe, but it had totally escaped me. And I'm not usually one to go nuts over movie scores, but when I saw this, given how much I do enjoy the film, it was a definite must-own. And that is the score/soundtrack to Carnival of Souls. No, not the Kiss album from the 90s, their grunge album. But this is a film that dates back to around the early 1960s, black and white horror film, basically about this woman who kind of gets haunted by this man who's called The Man, and he has like this ghoulish, like, white with black eyes kind of makeup, and then she's drawn into this sort of abandoned carnival type building where there's a bunch of, you know, souls that are just dancing around wearing that same makeup. So if you really think about it, it's a no-brainer why I kind of enjoy the film, just down to the presentation. But it is really, really solid. Hell, I think you can probably watch it for free on YouTube. It's entered that public domain type deal. But the score consists of this sort of eerie sort of organ type work. So if you're looking for a record to get spooky with, I would say that this is a solid contender. And this was put out by Waxwork Records. Their work on soundtracks is just absolutely phenomenal. Nice, you know, illustrated covers. They have all kinds of great artwork and inserts, colored vinyl and such. I'll show you guys everything. Take the hype sticker is stuck to the insert, so disregard that. And there's the woman in question from the movie. And then as for the vinyl, like I read it on the hype sticker and I was like, oh, that sounds really cool. But then I opened it and looked at it and I was like, oh, hell yeah. And it comes on this sort of blue and light blue, like pinwheel type colored vinyl, which looks absolutely sick. So I was really psyched to get this record in particular. And then moving on to something a little more recent. This album actually is celebrating its 20th anniversary this year, and it's from one of my favorite sort of modern indie bands, and their label did a special variant of this new anniversary pressing, and that is of Montreal, the Sunlandic Twins. This is like where Of Montreal kind of started to sort of break into, I don't want to say the mainstream, but popularity started to soar when this album came out. Kevin Barnes, the sort of head honcho over Of Montreal, did this album basically about, you know, the birth of his daughter, being married and such, and it's a great, solid, fun listen. It's a very funky kind of listen. It's not as like Baroque and 60s sounding as the earlier stuff, but it is still so good. Now, this is the early bird edition from Polyvinyl Records, and this is limited to 750 copies. As you see, it kind of comes on this sort of foil type stock on the jacket, which is pretty cool, featuring David Barnes artwork, David being Kevin's brother. And there's all kinds of goodies in here. So we have a nice little booklet. And what's really nice is that, like, they really went all out to commemorate the anniversary, because there's all kinds of great photos from the time, new liner notes from Kevin, lyrics to all the songs, as well as like a track-by-track breakdown, artwork renderings when it was sort of in progress, and all that good stuff, which is really awesome. Now, each LP comes in these sort of custom die-cut printed inner sleeves with the fiery flames, which is kind of fitting. And then just to match the color of the vinyl, it comes pressed on what is called solar flare colored vinyl. So it's almost like a red with yellowish splatter type deal, kind of matches the flames. And what's great about this is that this pressing is 2 LP, 45 RPM, mastered at half speed. It is this is the first time that this sort of audiophile treatment has been given to an Of Montreal record, and I kind of hope that maybe they'll do some of the other notable records in their catalog in this style. Hell, they're very deserving of it, but this is really, really solid stuff, and I cannot wait to listen to them. And then I took a stop over at the Haddonfield Record Exchange. I'm telling you, every time I go there, I always manage to find gold. Every time. It's never... And as a matter of fact, I feel like every time I go there, I'm plotting out the next thing I'll purchase there, if it's still there. And I found some really cool stuff. I'm kind of going by this sort of rule where, you know, because I'm still building up my King Gizzard collection, that for every record store that I visit, if there's a Gizzard record there that I don't have, I'll snag it. And sure enough, I picked up Gumboot Soup. Now, this album was the last to come out. I believe this was back in 2017 or 2018. It was the year where they basically released like 4 or 5 albums. This was the last one to come out, and it's kind of like the leftovers from those records. So they kind of just pieced together all the loose ends and assembled this album, which is pretty cool. And as a matter of fact, I feel like some of these sort of odds and ends Gizzard albums are quite interesting in terms of variety. So I'm really excited to dig into this. Also, the jacket comes in this nice sort of canvas textured cover, which is really cool. Nice printed inner sleeve, and comes pressed on orange with red and black splatter vinyl, which looks absolutely sick. So I was very happy to get that. And then here is a pleasant surprise that I did not suspect I would get, but it was kind of one of those things that recently came up on my sort of want list, because Emma over at 8 Vinyl Low, as well as fellow youngest members of the VC member, co-host of Rock City Kitties. We had done an episode where she had made mention of this record, and I kind of was aware of it, and I was like, if I ever see that out, I gotta get it. And it's funny how things kind of travel with you, and you manage to find this stuff out in the wild. And that is, of course, Mr. Lou Reed, live at Alice Tully Hall on January 27th, 1973, the second show. This was right around the time of Transformer, so you get things like Vicious, Satellite of Love, Walk on the Wild Side, and then, of course, you get all the Velvet Underground stuff like Rock and Roll, White Light, White Heat, Sweet Jane, all kinds of good stuff. I absolutely love early Lou Reed, especially this era, so when I saw this up for grabs, I was like, hell yeah. I believe this came out, was it for Record Store Day? Back in 2020, I believe it was. So, really cool stuff. Cool gatefold shot of the live band. And this comes pressed on sort of maroonish burgundy colored vinyl. And as you see there, replicates that classic old school RCA label. So, once again, after so many times, always leaving with gold at the Haddonfield Record Exchange. So there you guys go. That is my vinyl haul of all the records that I acquired within the months of February and March of this year in 2025. If you enjoyed this video, please go ahead, give it a like, and subscribe to the channel. See you guys in the next video, and most importantly, keep the records spinning.